Environmental vandalism, claim the critics. They're talking about plans to develop new Chums Beach. Now, this is an idyllic spot in the Coromandel, so beautiful, National Geographic and Lonely Planet rate it as one of the best beaches on Earth. But hang on, says the developer, this is our land, private land, and we're actually doing this responsibly, on a smaller scale that we're entitled to, and creating a public reserve along the whole beachfront. So, where do private rights end and the public good begin? We sent Kate Lynch to Coromandel's disputed piece of paradise.
The blueness of the water, the clearness of the sky, the smell of the air is so pure.
It's one of the most pristine places on Earth.
The sand on the beach is so clean. It's just everything is perfect.
With a reputation overseas as one of the world's best deserted beaches.
It's a place that people come to experience nature as it could have been thousands of years ago. It's completely untouched.
But for Linda Cholmondeley-Smith, it's more than a beauty spot. It's part of her family fabric.
We really need to save it. It should be a national reserve, planted back in Kauri and stay that way for generations.
So the fight to protect one of our last unspoiled beaches has become a very personal one.
I nearly cry about it when I think about it because it's so important, it really is.
New Chums Beach is so secluded, many Kiwis are unaware of its existence. The only way to get there is by crossing a waterway at Whangapoa Beach, then clambering across rocks and climbing a slippery mud track. These travellers we stumble across along the way say the seclusion is what brings them here.
A place of beauty, definitely, and typically try to avoid touristy kind of things. So I always look for the little gems that locals would know about.
How many places have you seen that have been like New Chum Beach?
In New Zealand, not a lot. Most of them are just mountains and everything, but the beach is just, yeah, it's pretty rare over here.
After a half-hour trek, Linda introduces us to her paradise.
So here it is, beautiful, iconic Wainuia-Toto.
Her grandparents once owned the land, but were forced to sell it. She's come here every year, all her life.
Coming into the Nikau and the Glade, it was just such a special feeling, and it still is. You can feel it when you come through there. And then coming just down onto the beach and this just incredible vista opening up, it's just so magnificent and just so untouched and remote and isolated. We could be 5,000 years ago right now. There's just no sight of civilization anywhere.
But all of that is about to change. John Darby, one of 3 men who own this land, is proposing to build 20 houses here.
Will the houses be up here or all the way along? Or?
All the way along, there's 20 lots.
A proposal Linda says will destroy the beach's idyllic charm.
Just having a bunch of people on the beach down at the other end where there'll be public access for those 20 lots, who may have 2 people in each house. In the summertime, they may have 20 people in each house. That's a couple of hundred people in a very short space of time that will be accessing the beach down the far end.
Whenever you develop an area, you know, it takes away from its natural beauty. And many people seek that in the world today. That's what most travelers do, is try to find those places that you can't get to by car.
Look around, there's enough places like that already. They have all these beaches here, so many houses and roads. You have to keep some places like this.
Enough is enough.
250 people have joined Linda's fight to save it.
I really think there's just so much love and araha in this place, and people from all around the world are writing in and saying it has to be saved.
Linda feels the last chance is for the government to step in and turn New Chums into a public reserve.
This is an asset that's unique to New Zealand. This is our heritage. We should not be developing it. We've got plenty of places developed. Please, let's have the places that aren't developed retained in their original state, preserved forever.
We had, of course, wanted to have the owners of the land on tonight. We got hold of John Darby, one of 3 partners, who offered to give me a tour next week, but not too keen on being here right now. Mind you, neither was the local MP, Sandra Gowdy, nor the Environment Minister, Nick Smith. But the Thames Coromandel Mayor, Philippa Barrable, has stepped up. She's in Hamilton, and in Wellington, Coromandel resident and Green MP, Catherine Delahunty. Look, Catherine Delahunty, this is private land. They're doing nothing illegal. What do you expect to happen? What would you like to happen?
Mark, we're talking about a rare part of our coast. And I guess the vision of the people of the Coromandel is pretty clear. Protect it, look after it for future generations. We need to ask these people to sell it back to a collaboration of people, which includes government, which includes local government. We need to step up and actually take on this issue and look after this beautiful piece of coast, because it's everybody's treasure and we need to protect it.
Philippa Barrable, OK, I mean, you rate this, don't you? I think this is on your list of one of the top 10 most beautiful places in the world.
Oh, absolutely, Mark. It is stunning. There's just no doubt or no argument, and everybody would agree it is a very, very stunning location.
So why doesn't your council step in and save it for all of us?
Oh, look, my ratepayers, I'm sure, would love to own it, but it comes at a very high price tag, and people are hurting. That's the bottom line. The rates are already at an absolute extreme, and we just can't afford the price tag that would come along with purchasing a property like this.
How much are we talking about? Ballpark?
Well, ballpark, some of the figures that have been bandied around, and this is probably going back some years when it was actually purchased, people were talking around potentially around the $20 million mark. I don't know the answer to that. I haven't researched that, but ballpark, I would say it's probably reasonably close to that.
If the government chipped in, would your council look at even a partial contribution?
Oh, I think we would, and certainly when you actually look at the history of the council worked really hard to get Waikowau Bay purchased by the government, and the Crown, I have to say, were a little unwilling at that time, and that's the early 2000s, but they eventually stumped up and they bought that site so that Waikowau Bay could be preserved in its entirety for all of New Zealand. And we actually put forward a case on Te Kuma as well, because the community came out and said, gosh, Te Kuma's really special, can we preserve that? And we did actually pitch a business case, but it was not successful on that one, and around the same time we were sort of asking the questions about this site. So the council at that time was very proactively going out saying, look, we'll put in something if everybody else can actually help us out.
Catherine Delahunty, has anyone actually approached the government and said, will you buy it?
I think that's the process we're in now, because people have been waiting for local government and the regional government to step up. And ever since the 1960s, it's been possible, it's been on the agenda that this could be a reserve. And I certainly would be happy to approach the Minister of Conservation to ask her to come to the party, because I think this is about residents are setting up a trust. They are prepared to start looking for money. I think we have had a deficit of vision from local and regional government, and as much as the other night at the public meeting, people were asking the local councillor, we're not happy with the compromise being suggested. We need to make a better offer to the developers and go for protection of this unique place. So I think there's opportunity to do that.
But no one's actually asked them, though.
Everybody.
No one's actually asked the question.
Well, I'm not sure that the local people thought there was any possibility of it. They were hoping that they could say no to this development through the regional processes. But the court case will resolve some issues, but it may not solve the issue for future generations. So we really do need government to become part of the issue, as well as local people and local legislators.
The irony, of course, is it was offered to the government once before, wasn't it? Under Labor's tenure, it was offered, and Chris Carter, I think, was Conservation Minister at the time, said we can't afford it.
Well, it's very disappointing, because in terms of conservation values, there is a dotterel recovery program on that beach. We have 19 PAR sites, archaeological sites, only one of which will be majorly protected by the developers. There's all kinds of reasons for protecting Wainua Totoa New Chum, and we've got a global Facebook campaign happening because people love this place, and we've got a younger generation, Mark. They want this saved.
OK, Philippa, because people love it, because people think it's fantastic, is that enough to save it through the process? I mean, you know how it works. I mean, in terms of the application these people have put in,
sure.
Can it be stopped on the grounds that it's too beautiful to be developed?
Well, under the Resource Management Act, no, it can't. And unfortunately, as at right today, it is private land. And as any private landowner in New Zealand well knows, whether you own a property in Auckland City or wherever, you're entitled to apply for certain things under the Resource Management Act. And these landowners are doing what they are able to do under that piece of legislation.
They say
just
they're doing
like any
more,
other
in fact.
landowner in New Zealand.
Don't they? They say they're doing more. They're saying they're not going to have as many sites that they could have under the Act. They're saying that they're going to give it public access. They say they're being the good guys.
Well, they certainly could if they wanted to. Under our district plan and the law of the land allows them, and in fact even the Resource Management Act, they can apply for anything they like. Under our current district plan, they are entitled to certain things. For example, they actually have got a resource consent that they've surrendered to build a house right down on the beach. And it was the time that was granted that we approached them and said, look, please, we don't want any houses down the beach. We know you're allowed to, but please can you do something different? So they have come back and they're not applying for the maximum that are available to them. They are covenanting over 300 hectares of the property. They are ensuring that there's a lot of revegetation happening. They're protecting the Kauri Grove. And the other thing is by actually being able to obtain the reserve, you can actually connect the existing Esplanade Reserve with the dock reserve that runs from the northern headland north to Kennedy Bay. So it will actually ensure that for the public ownership and access of the entire coastline from Whangapoa to Kennedy Bay.
I'm sorry, both of you. We have run out of time, Philip Barrable, but I know, Catherine Delahunty, you're going to pursue this in Parliament. We'll keep an eye on that.
This piece of coast must be loved and protected.
OK, listen, I thank you both very much, and we'll keep everyone up to date on where that fight goes. Catherine Delahunty and Philippa Barrable. Now stay with us, because after the break we have exclusive access to some of the rarest diamonds in the world. What about a necklace like this?
Heart shape in the centre with a pink and a yellow fancy cut diamond, 880,000.
That's a house.
That's a bit of a gobsmacker, isn't it?
Yeah.